I'd be curious to perhaps dive into that and say, pre 2020 and post 2020, what have your positions been on the idea that there are truly corrupt people and then conglomerations that enact terrible monstrosities across the globe? But let's specifically look at pharmaceutical companies in the USA.
I wouldn't say that like any of those positions of mine have evolved or changed. Like, but you know, if we're using 2020 as a marker, I think pre and post are roughly similar. I would say that I have a normal amount of cynicism regarding, you know, the role of corporations or corrupt individuals. You know, I think that you know, there's the joke about what is it about democracy? How it's oh geez, something about it's like the worst form of government, but it's better than all the others, or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel about like the status quo of a lot of things. And with regard to pharmaceuticals, we could spend the next hour talking about all of the failures of the pharmaceutical industry. You know, from opiates, which is probably the most recent example, to the fact that there's money in selling cures rather than prevention. I think that they have been derelict in their you know, advice on nutrition. You can't. There's no money to be made selling good nutrition, or sunlight or activity. I mean, these are all things like, unfortunately, I mean, not humans. I mean, humans are, but Americans are, I feel like, the worst offenders, are getting sicker and sicker. And that is despite the fact that we have more knowledge than we've ever had and more wealth than we've ever had. And yet we're shooting ourselves in the foot. It's an own goal of epic proportions. And so I think the pharmaceutical companies, I don't know how much blame they deserve for that. I mean, you could argue that, you know, Americans largely should be taking control of their own health, you know, and not letting some of these things get out of hand, you know, like obesity and blood sugar issues and, you know, causes of cancer that we can manage. So I guess I would say that, like, I just don't know if I share the same level of cynicism that you do about the role of these institutions in creating, you know, the state that we're in today. I think
Right.
that I think they have the potential to be hugely beneficial, and I think on the subject of like vaccines, they're hugely beneficial. But I do think that the creation of a bunch of drugs to treat conditions that we can treat ourselves is rather unfortunate. You know, I think like diabetes is something I know a lot about, and it's the most prevalent disease, and I believe it's the most prevalent disease in the U.S. Nearly 40 million Americans. You know, over 10% over 10% of the population in the U.S. has diabetes, and this is incredibly treatable. If you're type 2, this is something you can take care of on your own, and yet people are paying gobs for drugs and insulin, and yeah, it's just a massive fuck up.